Hello YouTube, this is Jerry D in Tennessee, also known as AI4HV. If you've been here on one of my previous videos to talk about, I just demonstrated installing GNUCOBOL, which give you a little bit of my background. COBOL was one of the first programming language that I learned when I was in school. That was what they were pushing for everybody to learn, because most of your businesses were using COBOL. There were mainframes. A lot of banks use COBOL. It was just a widely used language, and that was the go-to language if you want to make money as being a developer or a computer programmer. So now over the years, there's a lot of other things have happened in the IT tech world. Most things are going to the web. So a lot of stuff now is using PHP, Perl, Java, Code Fusion, Java server pages, just different technologies. And there's just a whole world of programming languages out there for people to use. Ruby, Grails, which is under the covers is still Java, just like JSP was Java. Just Code Fusion. If you use Code Fusion under the covers, Code Fusion is using Java. So it's interesting, the parts and pieces, the frameworks that have come out over the years. Some people hate them, some people love them. Just depends on your outlook and also how you use the frameworks, because some stuff you really don't have to use. I like COBOL just because it was my first programming language. I immediately fell in love with the language. It was easy to read the programs and figure out what was going on, because it's written in English, and you have designated sections for your data division and your procedure division, different sections of the program. It's just easy to walk through the programs, especially if it's written right, and you can walk through the programs and tell what the program's doing. So you can write a program. That being said, you can write a program as cryptic, and a lot of companies do that nowadays because they do not want you reverse engineering their software. You can write a program as cryptic and as clever as you want to, and make it harder for another person to come in behind you and modify that program or to figure out what your program is doing. That being said, I like to try to keep my stuff as simple as possible. I make comments where I can, and we may talk about some of this stuff in future videos, but right now you've installed. I'm assuming if you watched my first video, I'm assuming that you have installed GNUCOBOL. So let's give you some programs. Let's get you started writing some programs. So what we'll do is I've got a repository. I'm going to put a link down in the description. Let's go back here. JFarrell423, CYGWIN-COBOL. I've got some sample programs out there. I'm going to be adding to this repository. The plan is to add to this repository. I'm going to do some more COBOL videos. It's not going to be all this channel is going to do, but I like this language. I like this project. I want this project to succeed and be around for a while, because I feel COBOL, if you're a high school student and you're interested in programming, I would suggest you learn COBOL. Reason being, again, you can read through the program. It's structured. If you write the program structured, then you can read the program, see what the program's doing, and the reality of it is, you learn one language, you can write software in another language. The only difference between languages is the mechanics behind the software, the languages, and how you compile and use the software, or the language, the programming language. And when it comes down to really basics to programming, a if statement or a conditional statement is a conditional statement. They work pretty much the same in all languages, whether it's Perl, PHP, Java, Cold Fusion, COBOL, Fortran, Basic. Fortran was another language I liked. That was the second language I learned when I was in school. But and another one was RPG. I would love to see somebody come out with an RPG program, open source RPG that a person could use. But anyway, if you can write software in one language, you can pick up another language fairly quickly. You just got to go and learn the syntax and how the mechanics behind the language. The rest of it, the mechanics on how the program works, is pretty much the same on making decisions. While loops, conditional loops, your variables are pretty much similar in nature and how they operate. Mathematical calculations are real similar. So you might have some functions in each language, like if you go to VB or C Sharp, some one of the Microsoft flavors of developing software, which now, that being said, this GNUCOBOL, I've got a program I'm fixing to show you that come from Microsoft COBOL, which was, in reality, was Microfocus COBOL that was repackaged by Microsoft. Microfocus come out with the compiler. Microsoft repackaged it for a short time, and I actually own I have a box, of the whole set, the manuals and everything for Microsoft COBOL. I've had since the 80s. So it's kind of useless now because of the fact that it's for, it's like, what was it? It was pre-Windows 95, I think. It was Windows 3.1. Yeah, when Warp OS was out. I mean, that's I'm dating myself by saying that. But anyway, let's get to business. So I'm going to give you some links down below in the description. You're going to have a link to my repository. I invite you to come and download this. You can download this as a zip file. And after you download the zip file, to unzip it, actually Windows will uncompress it, but what I like to use is 7-zip. 7-zip handles TARs, WAR files. It'll handle zip files. It even has its own 7Z format that it uses. So it's a decompression utility. It is open source. It is free to download and use. This is my go-to tool. I know you can buy a purchased product called WinZip, which has been around for years and years and years, which does the same thing as this. This has a little more functionality, as is it handles the TARs, the Linux type files as well, downloads. You can unzip jar files, Java's jar files, and look inside of them with this tool. So it's a very handy tool to use if you're an IT person. I highly recommend it. I'm going to leave the link below. Another tool that I use that is very handy is Notepad Plus Plus. I'm going to leave the link below for you to download it. It is an editor that you can use for Java files, JavaScript files, HTML files. You can you can tell it I'm going to edit a COBOL file, and it understands what a COBOL program is. You can do PHP, you can do Perl, you can do all kinds of languages with this editor. It's a very powerful, powerful, powerful editor. So I'm going to leave a link below for you to download it as well. It is a very powerful tool for you to look at source code that you're going to compile and you're going to edit. So I have in my repository, I have a couple of shell scripts. All shell scripts start with a pound exclamation point /bin/bash for bash shell. for if you're going to do scripts in CYGWIN. So one will compile for debug, and the other will just compile your program. So you can also compile programs into DLLs, which I may cover in a video. There's actually a password program I want to add to my repository. I want to make some changes to it first before I upload it. But yeah, I think I want to change the way it operates. But it was a very good example. That and my phone number database program is another program I'm going to upload, which is a good example of a data entry program, which is mainly what COBOL was good for. A lot of people wrote the whole business system in COBOL. Have different tables and different screens for different functions and information to keep. So anyway, that being said, let's go to here. So one of my files, let's talk about this other one here too. You will see right here, there's a renum, source code renum program. It is a COBOL program, which is probably the first program you want to compile. So if you can see from my scripts, they run if you use compiles or compile.shell. If you use either one of these programs or shell scripts, it's going to take and run renum against your program as long as it's in the standard old classic COBOL format with line numbers on each line. This will renumber your program for you, so you don't have to worry about if you add some code, add some lines to the program. This program will renumber the program, add new line numbers, refresh it with new line numbers, and before it compiles. So, and that was the whole purpose of this. We had this functionality at the Cleveland State Community College, which is the first college I went to. That's actually where I took my COBOL classes, my RPG, Assembler, and Fortran. They had when you compiled a program, they actually had the scripts on their VAX machine that did this same thing. It would renumber your program for you. And I liked that feature. I wanted to recreate it. The renumber program is not my program. I'm not going to claim it. I added it to my repository because I want to keep this language alive and give stuff to the community for people to use. I may talk about some other programs. I'm going to reach out to some couple other people that's got some COBOL programs, so actually some nice COBOL systems, and get some information from them. I may do some videos about compiling their systems and what they do and how to use them. But anyway, so let's try to compile. I've already got renum here compiled, but I'm going to compile it. COBC. To get started, you'll have to compile this renum.exe. So space renum.cbl. And it compiled. Now, if you do a ls -la renum .asterisk. I did compile the DLL. I was thinking, it's been a while since I've been into this stuff, so if you don't put any flags, you notice I have a DLL file, and it was just created February 3rd, 8:45. So, if you look back at my script, so COBOL-X-debug, let's do that. COBC well, let's do it like this way. You can up arrow and bring up a previous. So let's do a -x, -x, -debug. Now, ls minus la. Actually, let's clear this because I don't want all this garbage on the screen. So I can say clear, and that's going to clear all this on the screen. There's a lot of stuff on here that you don't want to look at. You can be selective about what you want to look at. So you do a ls minus la renum asterisk, and here you will see the executable now was just compiled February 3rd at 8:46. So, where do we go from here? So, we go back. Let's look at my COBOL shell script, compile.shell. It does the -x -debug. So, let's do a ls minus la *.cbl. And there's all my COBOL programs. So, let's start by welcome.cbl. So, let's compile. And actually, if you don't have your environment set, you can do the --. If you don't have it, to look in the current directory, --, compile.shell. You can say welcome.cbl. So, let's do a let's change this to welcome. Asterisk means everything. So if I take the CBL out, it'll take all file extensions. And then you can see it was compiled. And as you notice, the date changed on the welcome.cbl. It was January 27th up above. Now it's February 3rd because it got renumbered. So let's look at how come I'm not seeing it over here? Wow, that's crazy. There it is. That's weird. It disappeared from my view. So here it is. It's a very simple program. It has identification division, which has the program ID, which I put in welcome. Environmental division. There's a data division, and then there's a procedure division. And the procedure division prints out with the command display welcome to GNUCOBOL. And what the renumber program's done is it's renumbered 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Alright, so if I go back here and let's do we'll just run it. Welcome to GNUCOBOL. So I set the path to look at // to look at my current directory. So this is all it does. It says welcome to GNUCOBOL. It can say anything. You could go in here between these quotation marks and put any message you want to here, and it'll print it out. So very simple. Just about as simple as you could get as a COBOL program. All right, so the next program I want to compile. So again, if you don't have your environment set up with the // as part of your path, you can do a / compile.sh, and let's compile Eliza. So Eliza was a very interesting program. I'm going to say classic. Eliza, a chatbot therapist. Wikipedia is probably a good place to look. So, Eliza is an early natural language processing computer program created from 1964 to 1966 at the MIT Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. Now, think about this, folks. Think about this, folks. Artificial intelligence is not a new thing. I mean, we're all about in this day and time artificial intelligence, but they're talking about artificial intelligence back in 1964 to 1966. Artificial intelligence has been around for years and years and years before I even got into computers. So, it was created at the Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at MIT by Joseph Weizenbaum, created to demonstrate the superficiality of communication between humans and machines. Eliza simulated conversation by using a pattern matching and substitution methodology that gave users an illusion of understanding on the part of the program, but had no built-in framework for contextualizing events. Directives on how to interact were provided by scripts written originally in Madslip, which allowed Eliza to process her user inputs and engage in discourse following the rules and directions of the script. The most famous script, Doctor, simulated a Rogerian psychotherapist, in particular Carl Rogers, who was well known for simply parroting back at patients what they had just said, and used rules dictated in the script to respond to non-directional questions and user inputs, such as Eliza was one of the first chatterbots and one of the first programs capable of attempting the Turing test. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with a link to this as well in the description. And let's run it. Again, you have the source code, okay? You have the source code to this, so you can make this program say anything you want to. You can have some fun with this. So, here we go. We're running the program. It's just greeted me. It says, "Hi, I'm Eliza. What's your problem?" I want to talk to a computer. What would it mean to you if you got to talk to a computer? I would be so happy. Say, do you have any psychological problems? Only the fact that I like to talk to computers. What does that suggest to you? That I like computers. The computers were you? No, I love computers. Are you saying no just to be negative? I thought I was being positive. So, You see, so you see kind of what the program does. So, um, if a person played around with this program enough, you could really make somebody think that they were really talking to somebody in a terminal. So, it's a fun little program. The first time I was introduced to this program was when I was in grammar school. I might have been on maybe the 4th, 5th, 6th grade. We went to I went to Brown Elementary here in Sweetwater, Tennessee, and we went on a school trip to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory Museum as a class trip. And in the lobby, as you walked into the museum, they had a green screen terminal. Kind of looks like this. Green. A lot of the back then computers were on green screen and amber monitor terminals. Some of them were just black and white too, as well. But the class was allowed to sit around this computer terminal and just type things in, and it would respond like this. The screen had the words Eliza, as I had here, would look more like this. And I may modify the program to look more like this picture. If I get time, we'll see. We'll see if time allows. I may play around with it, or I invite you. If anybody watching this video, I invite you to download the program, play around with modifying it. You have the link here if you want to try to recreate this screen when it comes up for the greeting when the program starts. Be my guest, play around with. That's why it's there. It's for you to play around with this compiler and play around with the language and have a few things that you can start out with that you can run, and maybe you can build other programs off of this. Like I said, I plan on putting a data entry program online as well in my repository. Just a sample of what a data entry screen looks like and how it works. And that'll give you, you can go, the sky's going to be the limit once you do that, because you can do a lot of things with data entry programs, which is the main purpose that they wrote COBOL, this development. It was actually written by a lady in the Navy. We might get into that in another video. I'm not. Well, this video's not cover that. This video is to get you started using the language. Okay, I'm giving you some tools that you can play around with. So here's another thing that I can do here. Let's go back into here. I want to do. All right, so I mentioned Microsoft COBOL. Microfocus, LTD. This is a sample program that come out with Microfocus. Back in the day, it come with well, you see this date here, 1989. So, I have modified this program to compile with my note here back in 2017. I took this program and I recompiled it in using GNUCOBOL, which is what I'm using right now, GNUCOBOL, which originally I had compiled this program using Microfocus. It was actually, it had been written to use function keys, and I went away from function keys. No, I'm thinking of my data entry. My bad. It's been a long day. No, this is actually just a game. And it's actually, you pick a number of where you want to put your X or O. And let's compile it and run it. Oh, something else. Oh, it's not done that. I'll show you with this, though. I'll show you with this. This will be good. All right, so to get out of Eliza, just say shut up. And it gets mad and exits. Okay, so remember to exit out of Eliza, say shut up, and you can get out of it. Anyway, so let's compile tic-tac.cobol. So let's compile .shell tic-tac.cobol. As you notice, I put a dot dash. My environment's set up so I don't have to do that, but I'm just doing this just to show you how you can do it if you don't have your path set up to look in the current directory. I may talk about how to do that in a later video as well. But right now, let's get this tic-tac compiled. So compiled. So we compiled it to an exe. We just did that. We also renumbered the program. Okay, just in case we added some lines or something and we didn't have line numbers next to it, it just makes sure all the line numbers are there. Now, if I go back to this, the Notepad Plus Plus will tell you that the file has changed and asks, do you want to reload it? And I say yes. Okay, so, and you see the line numbers, and this is a fairly long program. 242, 243 lines with the extra blank line on the bottom. But, there you go. So let's run this thing. Go here. tic-tac.execute. The screen's too big. All right, let's Control C. Control C will get you out of the program. Used to Control D did too, but I don't think it works in CYGWIN. All right, so use just a regular format, and this is what I was talking about, black and white screen. So you notice the text is not green anymore. I may modify this and make it green text. I like green text. But anyway, so I'm going to tell it no. I don't want it to start. Now, I want to start in the middle, 5. My X is in the 5. You see it immediately put a 0 under the 9. I want to put one at the 8. It blocked me down at the 2. So let's go with a 6. It blocked me there at the 4. I'm going to go with 3. It blocked me at the 7. And then the only other option I have is 1, and it's a stalemate. This is a very smart program. It actually, you can beat it. You can beat it, but you really have to work at it to beat it. Most of the time, you're going to have a stalemate on this. This is just another, if you you have kids and you want to play around with COBOL, these two programs, you can let your kids sit down and you can play with them. Actually, I'll get into, we'll create a shell menu. We can create a game menu, and the kids can just pick the games they want to run. So anyway, to get out, I can say, yes, I can play again if I want to play another round, or I hit no, and it'll exit. It'll exit the program. So anyway, there's you a couple of programs you can compile. If you went through my previous video and you installed CYGWIN COBOL, here's you a couple of programs that you can get started with. I will be uploading more source code in my repository. I have several programs that I run and use, and it'll just give you something, give you a framework or just examples of where you can create your own stuff. Once you go down through and learn how to write COBOL, then you can do a lot of things with this. So, and right here you can do perform statements, display, move data into a variable. You have conditional statements. It's a pretty powerful language, except to let you accept keyboard input. You actually tell it where the input's at. So very neat language. Another place, let me see if I can remember how to get to this, and I will probably give you this link as well. Rosetta Stone. That's not what I want. Rosetta Code. Might be Rosetta Code. That's it. RosettaCode.org right there. So if you go to Rosetta Code, let me copy this out. I want to put this. Now, I will also add, this is a good way to hide programs. If you got some programs you want to keep passwords and stuff like that, or you want to do some special things that you don't want people, if they get into your computer, you don't want people into. Good way to, if you learn your own programming language, you can write your own programs. You can leave them in a certain location, run them from CYGWIN, a CYGWIN bash shell, and nobody has a clue that stuff's in there. So, anyway, Rosetta Code is a site that has samples like classic programs like Towers of Hanoi, which is a puzzle, 99 bottles of beer, character codes, different samples on how to do things in programming languages. So if I remember right, languages, subcategory. So there's all kinds. There's assembly language samples, 6502 assembly, 6800 assembly, 68,000 assembly, 8386 assembly, Ada, ABOP, ActionScript. There's a lot of stuff that people have contributed. This is free software. C, C#, C Shell, C++, Basic. I wonder if AppleSoft Basic is in there. There's Atari Basic. Yeah, AppleSoft Basic. So, I mean, it's different things. So, you can get an emulator. You can also do an emulator, and I've done this. It's been a while. You can grab an emulator for like Apple IIe, Apple IIc, and you can run AppleSoft Basic programs in an emulator on a Windows box. So, There's a lot of neat stuff out there for you to explore. And here's the thing. If you are an IT person, you want to be a computer programmer, you want to be a developer, learn how to write code, write your own programs, this is how you learn. You go look at other things that's been written, that's out there, that's available. Look at how people do things and add to your knowledge on, get ideas on how you can do things. It'll add to your knowledge and your skill as a developer by looking at this stuff. So anyway, let's get focused on what I was doing. Here's COBOL. So in the list of different languages, COBOL, let's go into COBOL. And here's a list. There's a 24 game solve. There's 100 doors. There's a 15 puzzle. So I'm going to leave the link straight to this, to COBOL Language. And you should be able to, most of these programs, you might have to change maybe the top couple of lines to get them to compile, provided they're in standard format. So let's look at the 15 puzzle game. So is the source code not there? Yes. There it is. All right, so this program you'll have to have format free, and I can't remember, that might be the line that you have to have at the top to compile without line numbers. So this is not in the classic format that COBOL used to be in originally back in the 80s and earlier, the good old days, as some people might call it. But you can also compile. This should compile. Okay, this program should compile and be runnable. COBC XJ15.COBOL. Right there's the instructions on how to compile it. So again, there's a whole list. Let's go back here. Yeah, here's a whole list of Hello World Doobie. So it's the Hello World program. Same thing as my welcome. I just said welcome to GNUCOBOL instead of Hello World. A lot of people will start out with Hello World. That's the first thing you do in most languages is Hello World. But there's a Caesar cipher. Some of that stuff can be fun to play around with. There's a calendar for real programmers. I also invite you to check out the CYGWIN or the GNUCOBOL website. If I can type it right. Sourceforge.io. I wonder why there's two URLs. We'll put this in here too. So there's a new release too, December 23rd, 2020. Releases, features, documentation, and support. So for more, you can go off of some of these links and learn more about it. But I mean, if you're messing around with programming, you're trying to learn programming again, what you learn in one language can translate to another language. the more languages you look at, the more you build your knowledge on how computers work and how you can make them do what you want them to do. And it's a machine. So computers are very powerful, and most people that buy a computer only use a fraction of the power that's possible with a computer. So they've always fascinated me. I've had a good life. I've seen a lot of the changes in technology, and I really have enjoyed it. And that's one of the reasons that I have decided to create some of these videos about GNUCOBOL. But anyway, I appreciate. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I'm going to leave you with some links in the description so you can play around with some of this stuff. I have fun playing with this stuff. If you're sitting with a laptop in an airport, you could bring up your laptop and you're sitting there and you can do tic-tac-toe. You can play around with Eliza. You can download that 15 game and have it in there. There's some MUDs, multi-user domains you could use, which is like adventure games. It's text-based where you can go east, go west, go south. I'll see if I can find some of that stuff and add to my repository as well. If you have any suggestions, feel free to add links down in the comments below, and I'll check them out. And I will consider adding that to my repository. I'm not trying to claim these programs like Eliza and Tic-Tac-Toe. I'm not claiming this for my own software. I'm trying to keep this language alive and keep an interest in this language. And if somebody's interested in learning how to use the language, give you something that you can play around with and learn on how to use the language. Learn about the mechanics of the language. So that's all this is. But I'm passionate about. I've been in COBOL. I've wrote code, lots of COBOL code over the years, and it's a good language. I feel like it's a good language. A lot of people say it's outdated, and there's a web version of COBOL out there. You can put COBOL on the web, but I'm also a firm believer you use the right tool for the right job. I mean, they've got other languages like PHP, Cold Fusion, Perl, JSP. You can write Java servlets. There's all kinds of ways you can do web. So it's just whatever tool you have available, whatever the right tool is for the job you need to do and the environment you are using. A lot of times your environment will dictate what you use. So anyway, that being said, I'm glad you watched my video. I appreciate it. I'd love it for you to smash the like button, and we'll get this out for more people so they can play around with this language. And if you're not subscribed, I'd love for you to subscribe, because I do plan on coming out with more COBOL videos. And I will also talk about some other features of CYGWIN as well, as far as shell scripting. And maybe we may do some C or something. I don't know. We'll see where this goes, where this takes me. This has been my career. It's been programming. I have dealt with many, many languages. Java. I've done Cold Fusion, I've done PHP, I've played with Perl, I've done Fortran, COBOL, RPG. If you're in IT for long enough, you probably will also be in several languages as well, and that's why I encourage you to look at different languages and how they work. With that being said, thanks again for watching my video, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video. I hope you have a good night. Thank you. Bye. Hey, thanks for coming by. Glad you checked out the video. Hope you liked it. If you like it, please click on the like button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. May God bless you, and I hope you have a good day. Bye. Bella's got to be right up under me, don't you, Bella? Oh my word. Cloudy day, looks like it may rain. Clouds out over the valley. East Tennessee Valley. And Bella, she's just happy to be around.